Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second installment of my Roundtable series with leaders of UAE enterprises in a wide range of sectors in the country. These events are intended to open up insights from these CEOs into the fundamentals and pathways of their industries, the challenges of running their organizations at any time or during the pandemic, and also at a time of calls for societies and businesses and any kind of organization to become more diverse, representative, and inclusive. And also we will look into the possibilities of innovation and employability in the months and years ahead. I know that is on the mind of many of you, our students. As always in the series, I will introduce our speaker and then have a conversation with her and invite your questions from the field. All of you have been doing this for months now in Zoom. You know how to use the Q&A function. And I know that our guest looks forward to hearing from you, our incredible student community. There is no surprise that many of the business leaders of this country look to our graduates and employ them and are interested in hearing from them what they are experiencing. And I am really thrilled that today we have with us a very special leader who is interested in just those kinds of questions. Her name is Rola Abu Manneh, and she is the CEO of Standard Chartered UAE, one of the leading banks in the country and the region. Standard Chartered as an international multinational bank was founded in Britain in 1969, on the cusp of the creation of the UAE 2 years before, and has been operating here, I believe, almost as long. Rola took up her current role in August 2018, having come from the first Abu Dhabi bank, FAB, where she headed up corporate and investment banking for Abu Dhabi. And at FAB, she oversaw the cultivation and maintenance of relationships between the bank and its client base. And that client base here is a complex constellation of government and related entities, specially defined customer groups, family corporations, local and multinational corporations, as well as commercial banks. During her first year with Standard Chartered, the publication Arabian Business, that I know many of you look to, listed Rola on its list of the world's most powerful Arabs. And soon after, Forbes Middle East recognized her as one of the top 20 women leading top companies in the Middle East. Rola holds a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Operational Research, having completed her studies at the University of London and specifically at the great colleges Royal Holloway and Bedford New College. She is our Abu Dhabi neighbor. I was very lucky to meet her about a year ago at the Mubadala Business Forum that took place on our campus in the Arts Center. And I found her to be a very engaging and naturally inclusive person. So I am delighted to have this chance for us to speak with her. Welcome, Rola. I'm so thrilled that you're with us, and I hope that you will unmute your mic. And there she is, taking time out from a very busy day to meet with us. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Mariette, for inviting me here today. It's an honor to be with you at NYU.
So let's get started about your trajectory and the business you're in. Last year, Forbes, as I've said, recognized you as one of the top 20 women leading a company in the region, which is really quite something to be recognized for, because there are quite a few women leaders across the region these days. So we're always curious in these conversations about how people got to these roles. And I think if you could reflect with us on what were the most formative and shaping experiences you had that brought you to this leadership role, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you once again. To answer your question, Mariette, I'd like just to take you a little bit back to address leadership and its traits. So Leadership has come naturally to me, and this is during my school days where I would be involved in a number of sports, and especially in netball, where I was for a couple of years their captain. And that's where you really need to do the teamwork, driving the momentum, and being inclusive. While in that time, at a very young age, it would put you in an uncomfortable position, but then after a few wins, I began to like it. And that's how I started. And then, you know, you move into the world of banking, and from there, you know, I would take on more responsibilities. It is, I would say, it you need to always, it requires you to always learn and invent yourself, um, and move out of your comfort zone to really invest in your learning, in your knowledge. It requires teamwork and inclusiveness around you. And that's what I've always been applying, you know, throughout my career.
I just have to quickly ask a question off script. What sport did you play?
Netball.
Netball. Very good.
Yeah.
Sports and
Yeah,
athletics are very important to our students as well. It's a big part of our community.
it is. Yes.
Interrupted by the pandemic, but you know.
I know. It's
And it doesn't really matter what it is, isn't it? It's that kind of resilience and collaboration that you learn, and teamwork, and you know, getting back up after you lose and things like that.
exactly. And also you can say, I mean, and you're always surrounded by people throughout your career that would leave an impact on you. So I was lucky as well to have great mentors and great managers, you know, that were demanding, but yet really you would give you guidance, put you on the right path. And this is what I apply on throughout with my team, you know, giving them feedback. I tend to lead by example, you know, I'm demanding, but yet I'm also inclusive.
It seems a beautiful combination to me. So today you are the first Emirati woman to head such a major bank, and a bank anyway, in the UAE. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the banking industry, and what that role means to you?
Well, I've been 26 years, over 26 years in banking, and I spent before Standard Chartered, before 2018. I used to work, as you said earlier, in FAB, where I spent all my 26 great years there. And in FAB, I did commercial banking as well as corporate and institutional banking, which is really down. I started working from a branch all the way to managing relationships across government, family offices, and you know, corporations. Now, throughout my career, I was always hungry to get more responsibilities. I always challenged myself. So it's very important for me that I learn every day, even till now, because if I don't learn something new every day coming to office, and it could be a small thing, you know, you tend to, you don't want to feel complacent. And that was always one of my traits where I wanted to learn, reinvent myself. And then I got, you know, I was approached by Standard Chartered. And now the bank is not new to me. Obviously, I've known Standard Chartered because I used to manage financial institutions. Now, given its history in the UAE of over 60 years, it's a bank that knows the UAE very well. It's been 100 years in other parts of the region as well, over 100 years in Africa, as well as 160 years as an emerging bank, emerging markets bank from Asia. So the deep roots of this bank across Africa, Middle East, and Asia is really what interested me. The great diversity of products the bank offers, that pool of talent, and all these ingredients really attracted me to joining them. Now, definitely, it's a different level from what I was handling before, which is a corporate and institutional banking, moving on to a CEO. But this is where I was very keen to challenge myself and move out of my comfort zone. Unless you do this, really, you would not know whether you know what you really want in your career. So this move, luckily so far to date, has been very good, the experience. And I've been enjoying it. 2 full great years, challenging times, but a lot of learning and interactions with the client and the teams as well.
Well, what you say about challenging yourself and taking on a role where you're not really actually too sure how to do it, it really appeals to me that we have to learn on the job and be curious to do that. I certainly never thought that I would be asked to, 13 years ago to start up a new university.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea how to do it, but you figure out a way with the right people and the right attitude. So I think that's very bread and bone to our students, actually, who come to a young institution and are hungry to learn and leave a better world than the one they found and make a difference. So that's very appealing to me. So I want to go back to some of your themes just now on leadership, but before we do that, since you've talked so importantly about learning and being hungry for new opportunities, if you reflect back on your university education, how do you think that played a role in where you are today?
Ah, Mariette, that's a very long time ago. So, look, I think and you would see I did operational research, which is mathematical engineering. Now, I should not come across as sounding like a geek, really, but I was always interested in maths and finance. My father has a long history in banking, so banking came naturally to me. Now, whether at that time he would have, if I had discussed with him, I said I wanted to build a career in banking, he may have said, oh, you would not succeed. I never know, because I went on to do operational research. And when I came back from UK, the opportunities that came through, interviewing that time was National Bank of Abu Dhabi, which is now the so-called FAB after the merger. And this is where, you start from working down at the branch, going all the way different levels in the organization. And that's very important, taking things step by step in the organization, because that's where you will learn, and not jumping and really crossing certain paths just to reach to the managerial levels. Very important to grasp every single role and learn from it to help you move to the next level, and also to help you understand what you like most. And this is what I did. I moved around in the bank, from commercial banking all the way to, international banking, in charge of offices of the bank outside, to managing government relationships and corporate relationships and family offices. And my last role in FAB was corporate and in institutional banking. But I always believed in one thing, which is, if you want to really succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure, because that's very important. You cannot just sit and say, oh, I want to do this, but I'm afraid. You have to really follow your passion, believe in yourself, and take that, I would say, leap of faith. It's important. And it will work out, as long as you understand what the role entails.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Developing that faith in yourself is very important, and not being afraid to fail. We heard this before in this series. And another important point I think you made that also is very resonant is, don't assume you're going to be the leader of something immediately. You built up these skills, university a long time ago. Nonetheless, you really had the skills, the geek skills you said, but you had them, and it allowed you to step by step expand the portfolio of your skills because you were curious and you were in the University of Life by then, but you had the base and you did the hard work. I think that comes through. Let me just ask you a little bit more about banking, because, you know, for many of our students are very interested in the financial industries. But if you come from outside of it, as I obviously do and did, I've learned about it over the years. But if you're kind of on the outside, it's often hard to understand the difference between commercial banking, private banking, investment banking, corporate banking, and so forth. And you don't have to go through all of them in any detail, but it would be interesting to our students, I think, to hear how you would see the different professional pathways in the financial industries and what other tracks they might think about.
Yeah. So I think one thing they would all have in common is that there is a customer on the other side. So if we take retail banking, which is personal banking, we call it, which is individuals, banking individuals. So whether it's the normal just going through the branch or doing your mobile app banking or having a plain vanilla operating account, maybe some wealth management products, credit cards. So that is called personal banking. And then you would have commercial banking. Commercial banks are banks that have retail banking branches. They take deposits and they would have mass customers, individual customers, as well as they would have private banking, which is really the top end, the icing on the cake in terms of a certain level of assets that this person would own. And it differs from bank to bank, starting from like, say, $2 million and above. And normally private banks, most of their money is offshore. And then you would have corporate banking, which is managing relationships with corporates or institutions, which could be governments and financial institutions. So it's catering for the different and varieties of these customers. Now, commercial bank, which is a bank like Standard Chartered, you would have the personal banking, corporate banking, and the private banking, as well as what we say the investment banking. Investment banking is more at giving advice to the customers, the corporates or high net worth, if they want to buy or sell certain assets, companies, or if they want to invest, or if they want to issue certain bonds into the markets. So that is all under the umbrella of commercial banks. Then you have banks that are standalone investment banks. And these banks would not have the personal banking. They would just cater for corporates, large corporates, which are governments, international corporates, you know, and they would just focus on investment opportunities, on advising these customers. But but naturally, you know, you would go if you join a commercial bank, you would transition and go through all of these because as a new joiner to the bank. Now, if you join an investment bank, then you would learn the investment banking side, which is the advisory bit of it. And they're both exciting, I can tell you.
You've been on both sides of it. And that actually, let me ask you just that, since you have outlined a range of these special possibilities in banking and investment banking, what do you love especially about banking? If you think about it as a set of opportunities to engage and challenges to solve, it's okay to be a geek sometimes, you know?
So look, it gives you an array or a platform of different opportunities. So if you do banking or finance, so doing finance as well, you can enter banking because it is banking is part of finance. Now, what attracts me is the different opportunities, and it's whether it's doing pure vanilla retail, just dealing with individuals, or also doing the more complex transactions, sitting offering a mandate with working on a mandate with a client. Maybe this client wants to buy maybe an investment in outside the UAE, or they want to merge into with another company. So, or maybe you're sitting with a private bank. So during my day, sometimes I meet 3-4 different types of customers, and I adjust my discussions to the customers' surroundings, and that gives you that broad knowledge and the challenge. You also have, it's not easy to please all your customer base, and it's very important that we're here to service our clients. So can you imagine this hundreds of thousands of clients that you want to make sure you serve them properly, you don't drop the ball. So that challenge to making sure that they're all happy with the bank, they all love the brand, believe in it, that alone is also very important. And that's what we all strive for. So I always tell my team, we should never forget that it's because of these customers we have that we are in business, and that we exist. So this is how customers are important to us, and all sorts of customers.
You clearly love that challenge of puzzling that out. And I have to, as I listened to you, I thought about who my customers are, and they're, of course,
yes.
We're not really thinking about students and faculty as customers, but they are our community that we are here for, I always think. And so that challenge is well known to me. You will not get everyone to like everything you do. Before we go on, because, maybe just a little bit more about Standard Chartered UAE for our community. Can you just say something about the size? You're part of a huge international concern, but in the UAE, how large is the bank? How many employees? How many offices, customers? Give people a sense of that. Would be great.
So obviously, the bank has been here for over 60 years, and so it has deep roots in the UAE. It has deep roots in the region. So the way we sell Standard Chartered is we are a hub for the Middle East and a gateway into Africa. Very similar to how the UAE is strategically is well positioned globally, because it acts as a hub for the region. And that's what the similarities we see. We're both trade related, because Standard Chartered has deep roots in trade and commerce as well, between Asia all the way into Middle East and Africa, as well as our clients and branches in Europe and Americas. When they do business in the UAE for the whole of region, they deal with Standard Chartered. So the bank has, we don't have many branches, because for us it is not a branch. So we would have 6 branches, because most of our customers are on mobile banking and online banking. And this is the future for us, really. It's just to get do all your banking needs on your app. We have all sorts of products, from all the way from our personal banking to transactional banking, which is trade finance, opening LCs, letters of credits, guarantees, all the way to lending, different types of companies, to issuing bonds, and as well as giving advice to customers, as well as our private banking business, which sits in the IFC and acts as a hub. And the UAE is one of the top 5-6 markets for Standard Chartered globally, given its heritage, as well as it's a region for us, because we manage a lot of our products cover Africa and Middle East. We cover 40 markets between Africa, Middle East, and UAE, but the bank as a whole is in over 60 markets. So we have deep roots in Africa as well, which we have a lot of customers doing business in Africa, Pakistan, and other parts of the Middle East. And we have obviously hundreds of thousands of clients between retail. And then on the corporate side, it's much less, because for us, it is more, the type of customers that we deal with, that we're able to service them.
Yeah. So a large concern, it's a huge leadership opportunity and challenge indeed. Let me ask you something about that. You and I have talked about this sometimes. They say that it is lonely at the top. Is that true to you? And if so, how do you deal with that? What does it mean?
Yeah, it is. They say it is definitely lonely at the top, but it is all about really teamwork, inclusiveness, and how you align people to work with you. It's very important that you engage with the team. So the way I run it is very much, I have strong engagement with the team. Make sure that we discuss as a management team, we discuss the strategy. We all need to rally behind the strategy where we want Standard Chartered to be, which is the leading international bank in the country. And so you can't do it alone. You are as strong as your team, really, and that's very important. And they need to believe in your strategy, and this is what we do for us in the UAE, that we all understand we have one vision towards, which is making sure that we're there for our clients, and as they say, we're here for good. We serve them across all our products and services, and the value add. It's very important that we add value to our clients. It's not just about making sure that we serve them, because this is what banking is about. How can you help? How can you grow wealth for your customers? How can you help them be more efficient when it comes to dealing with the corporate world, or grow the wealth of your retail, personal banking and private banking clients? So it's more about really, I would say, wowing. You have to impress your customer, because there's lots of banks and competition, is there around us. And the UAE is a heavily banked country, but it's finding your niche with your customer. What do you bring to the table? That's very, very important. So having that leadership team aligned with me is critical. So I am the type of person, I'm very inclusive, yet, as I said, I am demanding and I am direct. And I believe in basically that we all need to work for one motive. Obviously, things like unconscious bias would come out, all the certain cases where I would make sure that you need to rule out, whether in terms of any gender or anything, to make sure that we work in one harmony, which I would say the bank does very well.
Mhm. I want to talk a little bit more about that inclusive stance.
Yes.
But state first, perhaps, that it is really inspiring to see a woman leading a bank like that. And I think, although I don't want to generalize this, many people are a little bit nervous about money. I think historically, if I think about myself or women I've known all my life, I know women are a bit more nervous to talk about money and think about it.
Yeah.
It's just there is a long gender gap there that may be getting closed. What does it mean to you for your clients to think about their personal, finances? And why is it useful to know some of these skills, even if there are banks who can take care of it in a professional sense?
So, I mean, it's very important. And this is what we do, as we educate our clients, especially the ones that are starting their small companies, what we call startups. And we do a lot of mentoring from that angle. Because what's important is that as a company, as you grow your company, you need to understand what debt you need to raise, and are you able to pay the salaries, keep the company growing. So personal finance is very important. And we have seen small companies that were not able to handle it. They could not really grow. And it has to be step at a time, measured, because you can't just go on and borrow and not deploy it in your company in the right way. There's also efficiency, how you manage it, how manage your company, manage the people. So from that angle, we, we mentor a lot of women startups. So we signed up with Womena, where we would give mentoring to different cohorts for them. And this is all the way from our HR to our corporate banking to our personal banking, give them, and wealth management, give them advice. Now, definitely, as you said, women tend to, yes, they would tend to shy away from talking about money. But Mariette, I would say one advice, and this is always an advice I would give my daughter, is it is very important that each one of us knows how to handle their finance and not depend on anybody. And it's critical that the understanding, even for individuals, what product you want to buy to grow your wealth, and how do you grow your savings, how do you take care of your spending, so and that education, it's across gender, male or female, even as kids, and they would start from school. If they start from school being educated on finance and banking, and we do offer this to schools as well and unis, we talk about personal finance for individuals.
It seems a very important message, whether you want to work in the financial industry or not, to be able to take charge of your own financial lives. That seems really a great life lesson. We have some wonderful questions coming in from students. I will begin to bring them in with the other talking points we're going to talk about. So also students, please, some of you joined a little later. We're here with Rola Abu Manneh of Standard Chartered, and she's already given a lot of insights. Please feel free to keep posing your questions. We'll hope to get to all of them. Here's one that's about leadership from the students. Was there a moment when you felt like giving up because it all felt really exhausting? What kept you going?
You would always have these moments, obviously, where you will say, "Oh, I mean," and especially sometimes during your career you'll fail. I mean, I cannot tell you and during my career I did not have moments where I failed. Of course you would, every person, but failure makes you stronger and makes you get up and really learn the lessons. As long as we learn why we failed, and this is very important, and this we do in the bank. If we as a bank, in certain ways, in operations or anything, different things where we would fail on something, then immediately we look and say, what are the lessons learned? Because it's human nature, and you're bound to fail. Now, did I come across, well, the crisis, I would tell you, whether it's the Asia crisis and my long 26 years, which would tell you how old I am, Mariette, whether it's the Asia crisis or the global financial crisis or the COVID, are times where, you think of your people, because this is a time when, the banks want to be more efficient. They would close certain businesses, or they would try to adjust their strategy depending on the market. So you have the responsibility of your people. So it's very important during that time to continue to take care of your talent, keeping them focused with you, not demotivated. So COVID was an experience, and I would say it's my very fresh, where it's really unexperimented, and everybody was working from home, all in a lockdown. So how we had to make sure that communicate all the time. I had to always make sure I come across as motivated, there for the team, for the people, talking to them on maybe big calls, on webinars, and keeping them focused, aligned, as well as ones that were living alone, their family in another country, locked down in their flats, making sure their well-being they're in good health. We had to also ensure, and then at the same time, your clients, you wanted to make sure that your clients are okay. How was their experience during COVID? So all these came across at the same time I would say in all of between March to early April, and bombarding you from different directions, but you had to make sure that you really hold the fort and never give up. So it does come, certain days would come and say, oh my God, I am giving up. I feel I am not succeeding, but you should not, because small pieces you would pull, the puzzle will all come together.
Small steps, don't give up hope.
Baby
right?
steps,
Hope,
yes,
hope
exactly.
is essential. And then what can you do, not what can't you do, is what you've said. I think
Yes.
it's beautiful. Let's talk about inclusion, which you've already mentioned several times. In 2017, your bank signed a fair pay charter, committing to paying men and women equally for the same job at the same grade. So important. Tell us about why inclusion in that and equity in that way are so important to Standard Chartered.
So inclusion and diversity, it's at the heart of the operation of the bank globally. And everything we do, we talk inclusion, diversity. And I believe if I look at it, if I were to explain it in a very simple manner, diversity is the mix, is getting the right mix, while inclusion is making the mix work. Because we can sit and talk about diversity, gender diversity, nationality diversity, but how can we ensure that we all believe in it? And this is where it starts in everything we do, from the time we employ people. That panel that we use in our HR, that panel has to be diverse, make sure we're inclusive. At the same time, the list of CVs, even our suppliers, we look at diversity within our suppliers. So it's very much embedded in our policies and procedures. We have a global diversity council within the bank, and it is headed by the CEO of our corporate and institutional banking, and Simon Cooper, and he is a male, but he drives it really well. At the same time, every country has a diversity and inclusion council, which is chaired by the country CEO. So also I chair it now, and this is where all our policies, and we track whether it's female, senior female. So with the bank as a whole, we signed a fair pay charter. Our board representation is very much diverse between gender and nationality. If I look at the UAE, my country management team, I have a mix of gender and nationality. As well as, and then what we look at is we've recently increased the maternity leave from 90 days to 140 calendar days, as well as we have, for new fathers, we have a 10-day paternity leave. And it's all and it's all really from our belief and brand, which is being here for good. What can we bring value from an organizational strength, and to have a positive impact on the community as well. And this is where I go beyond diversity. It's more inclusiveness. We talk across we talk to it about with our clients as well now. It's very important to understand our clients' diversity and inclusion, where we can add value and what we could bring to the table for them.
It's a very beautiful statement, I think. And I do think, like that tagline, being here for good, that double of duration, and also you're here to stay, but you're also here to bring good things. And thinking about the work Standard Chartered does in Africa, creating access to financial services for a rapidly growing population. Can you talk a little bit there about how, what you said earlier about mobile banking, about not relying on branch offices the old-fashioned way that I used to go to, I'm even older than you are. So can you tell us a little bit how technology plays a role in opening up these, financial services to a wider swath of the population, which is also an inclusion mandate, it seems
Yes.
to me.
So, I mean, the digitization strategy has not been new for Standard Chartered. This is a 5-year plan. But what COVID has fast-tracked for, in general, for the banking sector is the digitization agenda. And so it became COVID, while what's happening is very sad, but from COVID, there was an opportunity where banks said, okay, we now realize if we come across this pandemic again, we all have to be digital. Now, for us, it just fast-tracked our agenda, because what we have been doing in Africa and in the UAE is basically doing most of your banking on your app. In Africa, we've launched our digital bank in Côte d'Ivoire. And now we do digital banking in 9 markets out of the 15. We do wealth management, we sell products, we do lending, as well as we are able to open an account immediately on just your mobile app. In UAE, we have digital banking. We are enhancing, we have mobile banking as well. And you can easily open your account online as well, and you'll get a credit card. Now, and if I go outside our region, in Hong Kong, the bank has launched a virtual bank. A year and a half ago, they launched it this year. They call it MOX, which is just a virtual standalone, which is end-to-end digital. So we call it a virtual bank, and this is really the future in banking. So this is what COVID has taught everybody, that you have to go digital for your personal banking, as well as for your corporate clients. Because what we've realized, and we have our platforms where corporate clients are able to do their operations, do their finance through our trade, or how to manage their cash. And we already have a number of our clients on the digital platforms, and that's why we did not really have any interruption during COVID, and our corporates, as well as our individuals, were able to continue with their banking needs uninterrupted. So that's the future for us. But also, Mariette, the way we look at it, if I may add, is the future. So the students, we look at the students, none of the students would, they would visit branches. They're very tech savvy, and they would do everything on their mobile. So as banks, we have to adjust to cater for the future customers if we want to be relevant to them.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Let's talk about the current and next generations coming up. You're very invested in strong talent pipelines, locally and internationally. What qualities do you look for in young candidates for and within the bank?
So they would need to have a passion for learning. It's very important that they're passionate about learning, because at the beginning, the first 4 years or 5 years in their career, they're learning, grasping information. They have to be resilient, because, uni life is different. And I know nowadays uni prepare them. So like such webinars prepares them to have exposure. But moving on to work, you'll have different types of bosses, and you'll have different business environments around you. Sometimes they join, because they join as entrants, they have a training program. So there's lots of information that they will grasp. And we always tell them, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel that, oh, I'm failing, I don't understand how to do this, how to do that. I said, we all went through it. So they have to be patient, resilient, and that passion and hunger to work hard and learn. At the same time, it's very important, and especially now that, with the future, organizations will have certain bits of working from home. So you need to make sure that the new joiners are very much focused and motivated, because maybe they will deal with different bosses. Line managers could be in the country, outside the country. This is a global bank, so they have to adjust, and that's where diversity inclusion comes in, because you need to bring along everybody. But we also, for us, it's also important to understand their needs, their requirements, as they come up fresh from university. And we did a study in the UAE where basically we asked a number of people, just a survey, and the majority of the people felt, and not necessarily students, but in general, felt that they are ready and they have the credentials to work post-COVID, given that they're very digital savvy, whether students or the people. So that's important also, to have that digital skills and ability to, accept innovation is very important, because this is where you need that speed and convenience to make things very, very efficient.
Yeah, I think those are beautiful qualities I certainly look for: that curiosity, desire to learn, and to work hard, and
Yes,
know that you're not going to get everything on a golden platter.
yes.
But you've also said something very encouraging that I feel very strongly. Since all this current generations of students currently, the students currently in university are mostly around the world, learning online in different time zones, with difficult connections sometime, and they have to find a way to do it.
Mm.
And so that constant work they have to do, in a way, prepares them
Yeah.
for now the opportunities of the remote workplace that we're rapidly seeing, and that I think most companies kind of feel that remote work to some degree is going to be with us. What do you think are the biggest, challenges and opportunities there for the finance industry? Coming out of the pandemic, will we see significant innovation, or is that a little bit
Mm.
overstated? Are we likely to go back to kind of sort of where we are? How do you feel about Standard Chartered in that regard?
No, I think we will not go back, and this is for sure, because people have seen it, and in reality, and it's over a period of, I would say 6 months. So life has changed, and this is for not only banks, across all sectors. So if you look, so what we'll see more, and definitely what COVID has taught us is the environment. It's very important from an environment aspect, that as organizations, we do good for the environment. And this is one thing where traveling less, you'll see less traveling for meetings, maybe traveling for leisure, yes, but people will do less travel. So your carbon emissions as a organization would go less. And this is one commitment, for as a bank like us, in terms of sustainability. It's very important. You'll also see more and more investments uh, in the digital space, whether and it's companies where they would have, and if you take a company in the shipping industry, where they'll have in between the company and the end customer, they may have different maybe blockages, so that they would streamline it and go one end immediately, because it's very important that you have that speed to reach to your end client. So digitizing your platform, making it simple, to simplify things, that's critical. And banks, definitely, they will have more and more products on their digital platforms, internally, as well as we more the banks will have less human touch in terms of their operation end to end. There are different banks at different stages. Some have 80% all the payments made, processed. Some have still manual, but it's very important to be efficient. So from that angle, having that end-to-end is key. I don't think any company will go back. It's all about efficiency, how to be more efficient in the future, how to be nimble, agile, and lean. And this is what everybody is working on. It will take time. It's at different stages because you need to invest, and it's not just immediately. And there is an investment strategy that will need to happen.
That's some wonderful advice, and we have some wonderful questions from students. I'm going to go to some of them. Here's one. Do you believe that starting in a certain department of a bank would make you perhaps not be able to build transferable skills? For example, if you start in personal banking, can you move to investment banking?
Yes, the answer is yes, because the way it works, the students come in as at entry level, and they're put on a 2-year training program where they're given the flavor of everything about the bank. And normally we do this by sending them. There is a cohort that goes to China. They meet with as undergraduates, they meet with different students across the globe, and that's how they interact with different nationalities. But I think going forward, that traveling is no longer there, but they would meet virtually. So, and then once they're put on this program, once they finish it, they will have certain allocated jobs within the departments. It would depend on the student's request as well as on the department, having that requirement and vacancy. But as banks, for us, it's also our duty as giving back to the community, to bring in the fresh blood and train them. Now, some of them go into personal banking. Maybe after a few months or a year, they request to change. We look into it because this would be people that maybe they want to learn different things, and it is our, it's a great opportunity to really make them well-rounded. And we always advise them that they should not stay in one place for too long, because then they will just not learn about the rest. So part of their career is to move them around. And that is doable, whether they initiate the request or we, as part of with their line manager, during their performance review, they have that discussion.
That seems a really good way to develop your talent as broadly as possible, indeed. Here's a question that several people are posting in various ways. And let me ask it this way. This is, what advice would you give to us women charting our ways in the banking industry? Question about women.
Yeah, I would say not only banking. Sorry, continue.
Yes, please. No, please, go ahead.
Well, obviously, if we look at banking, if I start by discussing banking, it is very much a male-dominated, and you'll see very few women, senior women, right at the top. So it's very important to break that glass ceiling, because once you break it, there is no going back. Now, whether it's banking or any industry, I would say is, as women, to have a seat at the table. Really, you need to, across your career, never be afraid, have some mentors, some alliances, with people around you within your organization, and believe in yourself, and never be really shy of asking or demanding, because just to give you an example, women, we tend to work more as teams. So if you do so well on something, you would say, oh, it's the team. But sometimes we have to stand up and say, okay, it's me also. You know, we should take credit, never feel shy of taking credit for what we've done. And it's important that they march on. They will have certain blockages maybe during their career. They come across certain people that may not believe in diversity, but it's how you approach it and how you deal with your male colleagues, because you need them. You need your male colleagues around you. You need their support. We cannot go around just saying, oh, we're females, we don't need that. To the contrary, you know, in the bank, we celebrate Women's Day, 8th of March. We celebrate for the men on the 19th of November. And it's very, very important to have that harmony between both.
That's a very good point. We can't just go one gender. I totally agree with you. But you said something important about mentors. Did you have significant mentors along the way, in or outside the banking industry?
Yeah, I mean, you naturally you would have. I've had in my previous bank mentors. In this bank as well, you'd have a coach. I mentor myself. Some of you know, whether it's through the IFC FinTech Hive or some of the, you know, the young girls, they approached me, because for me it is important, because it's giving back, in the sense that you want them to have the smooth route rather than the one we've had. And so that's where you give advice to these young people, whether they're starting their career or also they're just finishing off university. Mentoring is key, because that's where you can speak openly and get that guidance. And you normally, those who mentor you would be those that have had that career and passed through, you know, all these ups and downs, and how they learned from it.
Do you think, here's another student question that relates still for a moment longer on the question of how women advance in banking, or professions generally, as you said, more broadly. Do you think this is different? Would your answer be different, particularly in the Arab world, for young women professionals who want to make their way in the Arab world?
To the contrary, I mean, if you take, let's take the UAE. If you look at what the UAE has been doing for women empowerment, and it's, you know, it's not new. I must say it has been since late Sheikh Zayed, God bless his soul, and Her Highness Sheikha Fatma. She's always been supportive of women, and it just shows you how the current leadership, all the efforts they're doing to support women. And the gender pay, the last regulation on equal gender pay in the private sector. These are big steps. And the UAE as a country, they've made a commitment by next year. They want to be from the top countries worldwide in terms of gender pay. Now, the fact that it comes from the top makes it faster. But also, you know, the government would give you all the tools, but it's also on us as women to come forward and believe in ourselves, and not say, oh, is it male dominated? Will I have a chance? There is nothing in the country that says women cannot be right all the way at the top. The UAE has been a leader. Similarly, countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other countries, Bahrain, Kuwait, you know, Lebanon. The Arab world has progressed a lot the last, I would say, 10 years. But how many women come forward and put their hands up? So naturally, if you have a vacant position that is very senior in banking, you would have more men apply than women, because the woman would not apply until she's 80% sure she can do the job. Whereas the male colleague would say, okay, I can do 20% of it, and the rest is on training. And this is where we should learn from our male colleagues, you know, that they have the courage to put forward. And that's what I tell my female client and my female colleagues. I say we need to learn from them in terms of that courage that they put forward their CV and say, I'll do the job. You know, you don't know that not everybody comes into the job knowing how to do 100%. There is on the job learning as well.
Absolutely. That's great advice. I love this question. Here's a very forward-looking first year. What personal financial advice would you give to a college freshman? Create a current account, hide gold bars under your bed, save a certain amount of money every month? What do you say? The gold bars may not be a bad idea.
The gold bars is not a bad idea. I would say definitely save and look to invest. I mean, there are different types of investment opportunities, and they could be all the way from different levels and appetite, from being very conservative to being slightly risky. But it's very important that starting to save at a young age, even from school, you know, that's how people would, students would really understand the value of money. And as they grow, there's nothing better than, you know, finishing uni while having your own savings. It's a totally different feeling. So my advice is to start saving from now, if they have not yet.
Okay, you heard it here first, everyone. Several questions from students are to do with something I care about a lot, work-life balance. Hard question. Yeah. The concept of work-life balance is very difficult to navigate when you're in higher positions of any sector, especially in case of women. How has that experience been for you?
Okay, so I'm the type of person, Mariette, that I wake up 5 a.m. I'm in the gym at 6. Now, it irritates my family. So, because if I end up going on vacations with them, I have the same routine, 6 a.m., I'm at the gym. But it's, some people are morning people and some people are evening. And I'm a very morning person. My energy is in the morning. So I get my gym out of the way, and that helps me de-stress and have the energy. So by the time I come to work, you know, I'm happy, I'm vibrant, and I have the long day ahead of me. Now, it is all about being organized, because as a woman, you know, you have to raise a family, especially with your kids. They were born, and I used to travel a lot when they were young ones, but I was lucky to have my family around me. But still is making sure that, you know, you're there, and it's all about quality, how the quality time you spend with the family, not quantity, and breaking up your day while you're in the office finishing your work, then back at home you're a mother, a wife, you know, and making sure that you complete your tasks. It puts pressure, and especially if I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be perfect, but to be fair, there could be things I would get away with and say, okay, I've done half the job, it's fine, but that's not me. And it doesn't have to be right. It's how you manage it, but you need to have me time. And it's very important that you have your time and do what you like, whether it's sports, it's reading, it's lying by the beach, because that would give you energy. And to keep you going. But to say that having a career will stop you from raising a family or you know, having that work-life balance, it's not. It's actually, it motivates you to be able to multitask. And we women were great at multitasking, Mariette.
I think that is something about many women, that we do sort of have that. And I think this question you've really answered. I mean, you clearly are highly self-motivated and driven to go do these things. And what does it bother anybody for you to be in the gym at 6? No one else is awake. It's okay, right? So she's still there. But what do you think drives you to work harder? This kind of goes back to that desire to to make a difference, it seems to me. Have you thought about that? It's not just that once you have a job, you sort of have to do it, and you have to do it
Yeah.
well. And you've talked about that. But are there some things that really make you, yeah, really want to
It's
push
yeah,
the level?
it's my passion, really. It's, you have to be passionate about what you do, whatever, at different levels. And it's not because I am a CEO, I'm passionate now about my job. No, throughout my career, I was always passionate. And I always looked at having a challenging job at different levels. If it becomes every day I come in and do the same thing over a long period, I'm the type that I would get bored, and I would lose interest. So self investing in yourself, it's very important. Learning new things. And I used to go, and when I started my job, I would go and ask for new things. I'd finish a task, ask for more, learn, read, because as you said earlier, and nobody will spoon feed you. It's very much 50-50, really. And that's what I tell my team and the whole, basically throughout the people I worked with, I would tell them, if you're not passionate coming to work to do your job and deliver an excellent outcome for our customers, please don't bother coming, because it affects the morale of the team. If I come in, bored, fed up, my whole team will be bored, fed up, they'll lose focus, they'll not be motivated. So we have to all be passionate about what we do.
Great point. And I think this relates a little bit to the question of innovation. You've talked about innovation, how important it is to keep up, to keep learning, not just as an individual, although that's key, but also as a leader, but also as an organization. And at MO Abu Dhabi, we spent a lot of time thinking about innovation. We have a Start AD incubator for learning financial skills, taking a great idea to something that can actually be a market-worthy company, and so on and so forth, a social enterprise, whatever it may be. We have an engineering design studio that anyone can use, even someone who never knew how to code, things like, or make something, and so forth. We work on all these different ways of encouraging students and staff and faculty to branch out and learn something new. Of course, for a big organization, you also have to make the trains run on time. You're in a certain business, or certain expectations and products you already have, all needs to be managed. How do you seed innovation within your company? What are some of the mechanisms or programs that you use?
So for us, we have, first of all, innovation is really, disruption is a catalyst for innovation. And in banking, this is what we've been seeing, this whole disruption of the banking industry. Now, the way we innovate, it's in different aspects. We have an accelerator lab, which we have in London. The hub is in Singapore, so we have London as well as in Kenya. And we're opening up in India. And the accelerator lab is really about dealing with fintechs. And sometimes we invest in these fintechs because they would have products that we could use in banking that would help, digitize things. Other type we have a platform where we connect the fintechs and our customers so that they engage. So that platform has been working very well for us. And this is where one aspect of innovation. Another aspect of innovation is our customer needs. And if I look at the UAE, it's very important to understand what your customers want, understanding their business, because how can you help them in being more efficient, in running their business in a better way, or in monetizing actually some of their investments. And this is where we would bring the different types of products on the investment banking, as well on our cash and trade business. So like a company So I'll give you an example. So if we take one company that has different suppliers, we have a platform where we could lend to these suppliers, vendor prepayment, where we lend to these suppliers on the backing that this company will pay up these suppliers. So it helps the suppliers get cheaper financing, as well as it helps these companies manage their payment of suppliers in a more efficient way, because if they pay on a shorter period of time, they can get a better discount. So it's very important to really know where is your value, what you bring to the table for your customers. So in everything we do, we try and innovate, and hence it's what you strive on in the future. Innovation is key. You cannot go back to the old banking methods.
I have 3 more questions, and then we'll let you go on with your very busy day. Here's an interesting question about trust. One thing that, even though we have to innovate, one thing that of course stays permanent is the need for trust between the customer and the bank. It's so important. And how do you think about that at Standard Chartered or in banking in general, especially when considering, as the student says, financial fraud, potential data breaches, which may be heightened is probably heightened in the rapidly digitizing world. How do you think about trust?
Yeah, so trust is something you earn. It doesn't come across like this. And the relationship between the bank and the customer, whether a personal customer or a corporate or a big government, it's how you earn your trust over the long-term relationship you have with your client. Now, and the way I handle it with customers, it is always to give them the right advice. And sometimes you will have to tell them upfront if it's really bad news, or they've done something that is you don't think it's right for them. They may want to do a different finance, but you have to be honest and clear with the customer. And that's how you will build trust with them. So it does come over a journey. It doesn't come in a day or two, because these customers see different banks, but never mislead a customer just so that to push the problem down the road. And this takes a lot of guts, to sit. And I've been put in certain situations where you have to deliver bad news to the customer. But I'd rather we do it like early and be honest, rather than just misleading. Because once you mislead the customer, that trust is broken. And it does affect the brand, the franchise. So be always upfront, honest, and clear.
Seems great advice for life. This person is interested in whether you have any books you could recommend about personal financing. Are there any great guides out there?
I mean, the Principles by Ray Dalio. There is Tony Robbins wrote a lot of books. There is one book also that I read. It's about change management. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? That's also a very good book because it tells you about change. So these would be the ones that I would come to mind. But if you wish, I can send you a list of some books.
That would be great. I love it that you've gotten our students focused on their personal finances. It's never too early, as you've said.
Trust me, it is very important, Mariette. I tell my kids all the time. I tell them you have to start early. Life is not about just spending. Be finance savvy, I would say. It's very important. And I always believed in work hard, play hard.
Work hard, play hard. This has been such a great conversation, and we've absolutely peppered you with questions, all of which you've just accepted and dealt with so beautifully. Is there a question you would like to ask me? Is there a question that you, as a banking executive or in any other capacity, you want to ask of higher education or of me and Abu Dhabi in particular? I want to give you a chance to ask me a question and put me on the spot.
I will ask you, but first let me tell you, I'm a huge fan of NYU, really, because, and what you've done, really, what you've brought to the table for Abu Dhabi and the UAE, it is great, because it brings that level of education to a different kind. So well done, honestly. And I hear lots of good news about students, and they love it, they enjoy it. The campus is lovely. I've been. The library, I'm told, it's very nice. So
Welcome
hopefully one day I'll
anytime.
visit.
You're welcome
I will.
anytime.
I
You can
will.
do it.
There, I can tell you there is nothing like university days, and this is where it's very important that students enjoy their time while they're in university, because these are lovely days. One question would be, Mariette, is with COVID, with lots of students studying online, how do you ensure that they're motivated, they're focused? Because at the end of the day, there's also nothing like face to face with the lecturer. How do you ensure that students will learn, whether if they're online, same as in a lecture? And what change do you see going forward in the education field post-COVID?
Those are great questions. And you used the questioning so well because you asked about three of them at once, which is wonderful. But thank you for everything you've said. And, absolutely what you've said about motivation and how you're looking for motivated graduates and interns and so forth. This is, of course, true for education as well. And since March, when we were first to go online, as a university, we have really been working very hard. At first struggling, I'll admit it, at first struggling, and then getting better and better at it. How do we deliver, if not the same education that we had, it's not the same. NYU Abu Dhabi was built on in-person liberal arts education, a lot of discussion, lab activities, studios for art and so forth, exhibition making. How do you replicate at least some of that? And how do you instill the values of our critical thinking and our student initiative, which is very important in the learning environment? The research, our teaching is really grounded in research. How do you transmit that in the online, or transfer it into the online environment? And I think the answer is we've gotten better and better at it. What do you have to do? Well, first, in the middle of March, over a 2-week period that the Ministry of Education gave us to give time to get every university went online, right? Every school. We have this wonderful Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, led by a brand new director who'd come the same time I did in August last year. A great leader who thinks about the fourth industrial revolution and technology to begin with. Nancy Gleason is her name. And she, together with our head of academic technology and libraries, Ron Berry, the two of them trained, more than 200 of us in 2 weeks' time to take our courses online and how to do it. And some professors had some ability to do it and some didn't. But this was the critical question they asked. They said, don't worry about the technology. Your students are better at the technology than you are likely, and you can learn it. And indeed, we all learned it pretty quickly with our learning management system that we should have used all along probably, but we learned to do it. But this is the question they asked. They said, don't worry about the technology. Go back to your syllabus, your course plan. What were the outcomes that you were trying to achieve in the students? How were you going to evaluate them in person? How are you going to do that at the end of the course online? And think of equivalence. And that was an incredibly helpful and empowering way to think about it, because I translated all of my learning goals, we always have those, into was I still delivering them? And then the second thing we did, and I think everyone did that, the second thing we did was go back to the students, ask them in the sessions themselves, how do you feel about this? What is hard? How can we make this better? And also then looking at our course evaluations at the end and saying, like, how did people who weren't comfortable sharing this in a classroom session, what did they say about their learning outcomes? And then over the summer, we trained everybody up even more, made more workshops available, more resources. And we ensured that both the students, many of whom are not in the country, half our students are here with us, half of them are out of the country, made sure they had access to digital technology because there's a huge digital divide. You've spoken about it a little bit in relation to countries where you're setting up new banking systems digitally, making sure that if a student didn't have good Wi-Fi, we supported them getting the upgrade in their home country, or the right laptop, or the right ever they might need to borrow or get from us. So really making sure we equalize those differences of resources that people have personally. And so I think a lot of it was just ongoing training, ongoing asking, how are you doing? And I'm very happy to say that our student government is amazing in this regard. I met with them last week and they told me they've been surveying the students, asking them, how is it going? Are you learning? Is it hard? And of course it's hard. And of course it's not perfect. But 75% of our students report that their professors are unusually helpful. Our professors are always very helpful. We love our students, but that they have been unusually helpful and forthcoming in the digital environment, which I think is kind of a testament to the how strongly our professors feel about needing to teach our students to the full of their capacity. So it's
will
learning.
Continue.
It's learning.
Yeah. And you think going forward, the future, obviously, you will have both. You will offer virtual as well as class. Or will you come back to class once things are normalized?
I think that what you've said earlier about banking, that it will not go back completely to what it was, that change was already underway. I believe that about higher education as well. I think that higher education has been slow to embrace the possibilities of the digital, because some of us have found things we're doing better online, interestingly, and other things would undoubtedly be better in person. I think that what you will see is kind of a sorting out over the next few years, where certainly a school like ours will continue to train leaders who do need interpersonal interaction in real space, need to create in labs, need to create in studios, which we're still continuing to do anyway. There are ways in which you can meet in person for those things. But what I'm very interested in is seeing, what did MWA Abu Dhabi do really well in delivering this beautiful high quality education that's so intercultural among so many different people? We're the most diverse student community on the planet. How do we translate that into perhaps other products that we can begin to put out into the world to reach more students who could never come to Abu Dhabi, who might never be able to travel outside of their home village or outside of their home for some reason or another? So I think there's a lot of positive outcomes to come once we see ourselves a bit more at the other end of this very difficult crisis. But I'm optimistic about that innovation. And I think online will have more of a place than it did. It won't be the only thing, it will have more of a place than it did before the pandemic.
Fully agree with you, definitely. I think that's the future.
Thank you again, Rola, for being with us. Thank you for your beautiful insights and for leading this very important bank. We hope that many of our students will have a chance to meet you and or be involved with Standard Chartered one way or another. I also want to thank Donna Downey and her team from the Career Development Center for helping us organize this important event. And I want to thank all the students for being here, taking time and continuing to focus on your futures. It's really important. The future is there for you. I'm really convinced of that. And I think Rola Abu Manneh has given us a great view of what that future could look like. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody and the students. It's a pleasure for me anytime. Thank you.
Bye-bye all.
Bye. Bye.